Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Raina. Sunday it is today, the 16th of January, and time for a Sunday sum up, but also time for the long-awaited TBR that I wanted to do for the first half of the year of 2022. 41 books that I want to read with you. So let's get started. Probably and very likely not all of the 41 books that I'm going to mention in this video will make it. That means that I will read them until the end of June of 2022 because they're always surprises, right? But I wanted to make a little more detailed plan of what to read, of the books that I own, that I have behind me on my shelves, of the books that I have on my Kindle still, of the books that I owe to read to NetGalley, also on the Kindle, books that I borrow from the library, and also new arrivals published this year, published this week's, to read a couple of very new and fresh titles and to present them here on this channel. And all of these 41 books are also an offer to buddy read with me, with you, and with you up there all around the world. I'm excited to do this because buddy reads always open up another dimension into a book that we are reading. We can read the two of us, the three, the four of us, the more, the better. And I want to do this on the wonderful, I would love to do this on the wonderful platform of Discord that I have discovered. I'm not a good Discorder, but I have learned the basics, and I learned that this is a very convenient way to communicate with each other, very easy to communicate with each other. You don't have to install a lot of things on your computer. I put a link down to my Discord below. You just go to Discord, look me up, and send me a message. That's as easy as it is. Back to the list. I want to cling to that list as much as it is possible, knowing that I won't do it. Because there are always, you know that from your own reading, there are always books circling and lurking around, trying to get your attention, trying to get to distract you from other books, you know? And some of the books that you absolutely wanted to read, they will fall behind, and suddenly a different book is on your night table. One thing that I also want to do, and that's also applying for this 41 books. If I read 50 pages of a book and I absolutely cannot connect to it, I absolutely dislike it, then I'm going to DNF it. So let's begin with January of 2022. I have already finished 4 books and I owe you a little more detailed description in my next Sunday sum up, which might even come today. I just finished last night Soviet Milk by Nora, Ikstena, translated from the Latvian by Margita, Gailitis. I have read State of Terror by Hillary Clinton and Louise. I also finished Peril by Woodward and Robert Costa. And I also finished the second non-fiction book of the year, CQ, A Journey Through American Loneliness, a graphic non-fiction book by Kristen Radtke. The books that I still want to read in this month, that I will start, one of them I have already started. This is In by, oh my gosh, it's very heavy, In by Will McPhail. And it says, a millennial's journey from performing his life to truly connecting with people, a journey of a guy who is sort of a loner, who is listening to Joni Mitchell albums and trying to connect to his time. In by Will McPhail is the second graphic novel, or maybe the first graphic novel, because the other one was a non-fiction book, right? Then I have a thriller here from a Booker-winning author of 2005, 76 years old now, John Banville's last novel, published last year, April in Spain. A thriller set in Spain by John Banville. John Banville, who was the victim of a hoax in 2018-19, when somebody claiming to be the Swedish Nobel Prize Committee called him and congratulated him on winning the Nobel Prize for Literature, which was a hoax. Poor guy. And the third book that I still want to read in January to make it 7 in January, and that I already have written half of, is a collection of essays, or is a collection of essays by the beautiful and super smart model Emily Ratajkowski. This is called My Body. This is January, and you can see the books from January now on this overview here on the video. Then starts February. The day's getting a little bit longer, it's still very cold in Sweden, and it's time for another 5 amazing books. So my plan is, received this week to my inbox, to my mailbox, I bought it, is Brown Girls by Daphne Palasi Andreades. It was published on the 4th of January, and it is a book about several young women of color living in New York City. I like that, and I love the cover, and this is one of the books I'm going to read in February. Then I have something from 2020 that I bought last year. It's The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak, a beautiful story, as it says, of Cyprus, which you might know is a divided country between a Turkish part and a Greek part. This is a story of a young girl who is living in England and who knows that her parents have lived on this island, and it's said to be a very beautiful story about both Cyprus and family. Another book that I own, and let's go to Canada. Canada. Is that Joni Mitchell? I think it is. This is Alix Ohlin. We Want What We Want is a collection of short stories by the Canadian writer who I got to know by her beautiful novel Dual Citizens that I loved, I think 2 years ago. Dual Citizens, if you haven't read it, the story of 2 sisters from Canada, but also American citizens, and really very gripping story of their relationship. And this is a new book by Alix Ohlin, and yellow is my favorite color. As the Japan lover that I am, I would love to read the 3rd part of the trilogy of David Peace, a British writer, called Tokyo Redux. This is a thrilling postmodern noir about the real-life disappearance in 1949 of one of Japan's most powerful figures and the 3 men who try and fail to crack the case. Number 5 in February would be Your Ad Goes Here, going back to NetGalley, by Oksana Zabuzhko, the Ukrainian writer that I failed to finish, Museum of Abandoned Secrets, although I liked the book, but it was just too long for me, and it was too much concentration that was asked of me that I didn't have last year, and maybe I will finish it this year. But this year I want to try Your Ad Goes Here, which are short stories from the Ukraine of the Orange Revolution and of people living their daily lives in the country. So that is February, and here again there's the February sheet, where you can see all the books that I want to read in the month of February of 2022. In March, it will be published in February, but I know it takes like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks maybe even to get a book from the UK to my mailbox. And that's why I say March, for Monica Ali's novel Love Marriage, which will come already published on February 4, and this is a story about who we are and how we love in today's Britain by one of the UK's best writers of the last 20 years. I loved Monica Ali's In the Kitchen, and I also love Brick Lane. She was shortlisted for the Booker Prize with this book, and this Love Marriage is her first novel in 10 years. Back to the Kindle, back to NetGalley, I have a novel called Two Spies in Caracas by Moises Naim, which is an edge-of-your-seat political thriller about rival spies, dangerous love, and one of history's most devastating revolutions, the one in Venezuela that has ruined the country as much as it is possible to ruin a country. The third one is The Easy Life in Kamusari by Shion, and that was recommended on the beautiful channel Books and Bao, one of the absolute best channels on BookTube. Link down below, which they don't need, but well deserved. This is a rapturous novel where the contemporary and the traditional meet amid the splendor of Japan's mountain way of life. I've been to the mountains in Japan. I've been in a valley. I've been there in 2019 was my last big trip abroad. Actually, so I can't wait to read this one. And then another thriller, also chosen because of the location where it is set. This is Two Nights in Lisbon by Chris Pavoni. A riveting thriller about a woman under pressure and how far she will go when everything is on the line. And Chris Pavoni, I have met before because in 2014 or so, I read his first novel, his debut novel, The Expats, which was a great thriller, really a great thriller. And Two Nights in Lisbon is set for March for me. And then comes the post-Soviet book club. That is still existing, and we have read Soviet Milk, and we will discuss Soviet Milk very soon. But in March, I really want to read Second-Hand Time by the Nobel Prize laureate Svetlana Alexievich from Belarus. She has written this book, Second-Hand Time, as a symphonic oral history about the disintegration of the Soviet Union and the emergence of a new Russia. And this rounds up the month of March. And here is the March sheet of the 5 books for March of 2021. Have you found anything you want to read in March? I hope so. Let's go to April. I am a huge fan of Americana music. I love Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit. Think that he is one of the greatest songwriters of our time. I love Gretchen Peters. I love Justin Townes Earl, and many other artists who could be labeled as Americana or Americana. And there's a book now called Americana Land by John Millward. And I want to read this nonfiction one. It chronicles the evolution and resonance of this ever-changing amalgam of American music. Americana Land. Then back to Africa. I know that Africa is a very diverse continent, but I say I love African literature. I have discovered it last year again with 3 great novels. How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbue, The Promise by Damon Galgut, and The Son of the House by Cheluchi Animalukwe Onuobia. And I want to read, last year already, I wanted to read The First Woman by Jennifer Nansubuga Makumbi from Uganda. An intoxicating mix of Ugandan folklore and modern feminism that will linger in the memory long after the final page. April 2022. And then it comes for another thriller. Stop singing, please. Third one is The Chain by Adrian McKinty. And this is apparently a thriller that is very hyped right now. It sounds really strange because it's a chain, you know, these chain letters where you can make money, but this is a chain kidnapping. Someone's child is kidnapped and the ransom is not money, but the ransom is to kidnap another child. And the parents of this child, they are not asked for money, but asked to kidnap another child. This is The Chain, which is a very weird basic idea by Adrian McKinty. Black Buck by Matteo Ascaripour is something that I had in my books of the month last year, and it also is a book that I have on my Kindle. And this is a debut novel about a young man given a shot at stardom as the lone black salesman at a mysterious, cult-like and wildly successful startup where nothing is as it seems. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Black Buck by Matteo Ascaripour. And the final book for April takes us back to Canada by Richard Ford, the great American writer Richard Ford. When I started the channel, I said I want to read every single novel by Richard Ford. I haven't done it like others do it, like every month a Ford novel, but now it's time really to continue my adventures with Richard Ford by reading Canada. It is a profound novel of boundaries, traversed, innocence lost and reconciled in the mysterious and consoling bonds of family. And I love the geographical setting of the novel because it's set in both the great state of Montana in the United States and the province of Saskatchewan in Canada. Richard Ford. Here again, the sheet for April, the 5 books for April that are chosen. Let's go to May. May is in April is a release that I want to read in May. Hopefully I have gotten it in May. And this is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. A bold, brilliant imagining of a world that is moments away. And this finally might be the internet novel. I have great expectations, Miss Egan, for that novel, because it finally might be the great internet novel that we all are longing for, that we all are looking for. It wasn't No One Is Talking About That by Patricia Lockwood, and it wasn't Fake Accounts by Lauren Euler. It might be, and hopefully it is, The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. Is a solution in the near future where you can sort of sell your unconscious to social media. 5 Tuesdays in Winter by Libby King is something that I have to read I want to read as well in May. It's told in the intimate voice of unique and endearing characters of all ages, and Lily King is really a writer who is, and Tylerish, I would say, able to tell a story in a quite conventional way, but in a very narratively elegant sort of fashion. And that's why I want to read Lily King. The third one is, I'm loving to read that one. Very soon there will be a third novel published in the Dave Wakeland series. Dave Wakeland series that take us to Vancouver, Canada, and to the author Sam Weeb, who is a First Nation author in Canada. He lives in Vancouver. He has written a great start of the Dave Wakeland series with his Private Eye Dave Wakeland in Canada by Invisible Dead, which I read. I was totally taken by this because it reminded me so much of Chandler and MacDonald, who have chronicled Los Angeles. But Weeb is chronicling Vancouver, where I've been. I love the city, and it's great to read about Vancouver in Sam Weeby's books. So I'm going to read Cut You Down. That was given to me and as a gift to me almost 2 years ago when I started the channel by the wonderful Quiet Midden channel. I thank you very much still for this. I'm going to read it finally. I'm going to review it, I promise, in the month of May. A link down below to the Quiet Midden channel. Thank you very much again. Who They Was by Gabriel Kraus. I'm always, when I'm in London, England, I'm always fascinated to see the estates, to see those hard concrete blocks where thousands of people grow up in social housing in the UK and London especially. And Who They Was is a book out of these concrete blocks, as it says. It was nominated, longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2020. A story of concrete towers and blank-eyed windows, of endless nights in police stations and prison cells, of brotherhood and betrayal. Who They Was by Gabriel Kraus. And the final book in the month of May would be Other Russias by Victoria Lomasko, which is a suggestion to my friends at the Post-Soviet Book Club and to everyone who wants to join us to the Post-Soviet Book Club. Victoria Lomasko's book, Other Russias, illuminates the inequality and injustice at the heart of contemporary Russian society and gives voice to Russia's many voiceless citizens. And this is a graphic journalism book. Very interesting to dive into that genre of graphic journalism, right? The overview, again, for May. These are the 5 books for the month of May. April Flowers, May Flowers, what is it called? Yeah. June, the month of June. I have in May a release that I'm going to buy, and in June it has hopefully arrived here in Stockholm, and I will be able to read it. This is Woman of Light by Kali Fajardo-Anstine from Denver, Colorado. A dazzling epic of betrayal, love, and fate that spans 5 generations of an indigenous Chicano family in the American West. From the author of the National Book Award finalist Sabrina and Karina short stories 2 years ago. I read them. Well, 3 years ago. I read them and I loved them. Sabrina and Karina was a great book, and I can't wait to see woman of light. The next one is also highly expected. I read Heaven last year by Mieko Kawakami, and her new book, All the Lovers in the Night, will be published in May of 2022. All the Lovers in the Night is Mieko Kawakami's new book, new translation that will be on the market in the English-speaking world. This is about Fuyuko Iri, who is a freelance copy editor in her mid-30s, and her life is sort of just going by, and then she decided it to change drastically, and her past is going to haunt her, and few people like Mieko are so good in doing this kind of novels like Mieko Kawakami. The third one, we stay around Japanese culture, but this is a thriller by Barry Lancet, Japantown. An American antiques dealer turned reluctant private eye must use his knowledge of Japanese culture to unravel a major murder in San Francisco before he and his daughter become targets themselves. This is Japantown by Barry Lancet. Number 4, I return to one of my favorite authors. I've read his novel 5-Star Billionaire. I've also read his novel We the Survivors. Now I want to read his novel Map of the Invisible World. Tash Ah is that. A young man searching for his stepfather in Indonesia and Malaysia with the unmistakably identifiable voice of Tash Ah. The fifth one I thought in June, the last one in June maybe, or maybe the first or the second one, I don't know, but in June will be an American classic. Ernest Hemingway declared that all modern American literature stems from this one book. And hopefully you have already said in a chorus at home, this is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain. That is a book that I wanted to read for a long time now. I'm going to read it in June, maybe with you, or with you. And now I have my jokers from the library. I have reserved 9 books from the library here in Stockholm, and I'm afraid they will arrive in a couple of weeks. You never know if people are waiting or how much time it takes them to pick it and to send it to my local library here in Fasta. 9 books that I have chosen actually by using the Wheel of Fortune on the internet. I had like 30 books on a list. I have actually on the list of the books that I want to read from the Stockholm Library, I have 258 books currently. That's a lot. That's a long TBR. And I chose them by the Wheel of Fortune. Here they are. The Removed by Brandon Hobson. Steeped in Cherokee myths and history, a novel about a fractured family reckoning with their tragic death of their son long ago. That was published last year, actually. Then a winner of 2 awards, at least, last year. At Night, All Blood is Black by David Diop, translated from the French by Anna Moshovakis. A dazzling tale of a man's descent to madness from World War I, where I didn't know a lot of Senegalese soldiers were fighting for France. Unsettled Ground by Claire Fuller, a tale of sacrifice and hope, of homelessness and hardship, of love and survival, in which 2 marginalized and remarkable people uncover long-held family secrets and in their own way repair, recover, and begin again. And that was shortlisted for the Women's Prize in 2022. Then comes Detransition Baby by Tori Peters. Tori Peters brilliantly and fearlessly navigates the most dangerous taboos around gender, sex, and relationships, gifting us a thrillingly original, witty, and deeply moving novel. Number 5, The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. Life between the wars in a great English house. In the summer of 1956, Stevens, the aging butler of Darlington Hall, embarks on a leisurely holiday that will take him deep into the countryside and into his past. The great Kazuo Ishiguro. I loved Clara and the Sun. It was the first book that I read by Kazuo Ishiguro, and this should not be the last, I said, and that's why I put it on the list. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. 4 famous siblings throw an epic party to celebrate the end of the summer, but over the course of 24 hours, the family drama that ensues will change their lives forever. I listened to Taylor Jenkins Reid's beautiful book, Daisy Jones and the Six. I loved it, and, well, this would be the second one that I read by Taylor. Silverview by the late John le Carré, his last book, published after his death, in 2020. The mesmerizing story of an encounter between innocence and experience and between public duty and private morals. The greatest thriller writer of half of a century, probably. Then I have Matrix by Lauren Groff, the mesmerizing story of an encounter between innocence and experience and between public duty and private morals. And last but not least, as I always say, Tils Alador by Diamond Salihu. And as you understand, this is Swedish. Tils Alador means Tils Alador means until everyone dies. This is an exploration of the origins of the gang war that has haunted Stockholm in the last years, with teenage boys and young men killing each other. So these are the books. I already have some releases that come a little bit later this year in July, but I don't want to do it stretch it that far. I'm very interested in how many books I'm going to read of this 41. But if I sort of sign up, if you sign up, if we agree on buddy reads here, I think the more likely a buddy read is set up and sort of agreed with each other, and we're really going to read it. And the other ones are always sort of, I wouldn't say threatened by, but challenged by other books that come. For example, maybe number 42, another Joker. This week I received this one here. The New Age of Empire. How Racism and Colonialism Still Rule the World by Kehinde Andrews from the United Kingdom, who is a professor in Black Studies. And this was recommended on The Guardian's webpage by Bernardine Evaristo, and is a radical view at our society and its current racism. Kehinde is a professor at Birmingham University. So this can happen, that this is very, very important. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please drop a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, like, and tell me what you think. I see you very soon with the Sunday Sum Up. Bye-bye.